Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and take a look at all the odd numbered questions. Oops. I was too quick for my screen recording for the last one, so now my little thing pops up. Okay, so tangent of 30 degrees, 30, 60, 90, root 3, 1, and 2. And the tangent of 30 is opposite over adjacent, which is 1 over root 3. I rationalize my denominator. I could write a 3 better. Rationalize my denominator, and I get root 3 over 3. I'm going to stop showing the step here, so you should, hopefully you are better with rationalizing the denominator. Again, I scrolled past my 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. Root 3, 1, and 2. Cotangent of 60 degrees is, this is adjacent over opposite. So that is 1 over root 3, and I rationalize my denominator, and I get root 3 over 3. And I do want you guys to write this stuff in the boxes. Okay. So cosine of 225 degrees. So 225 degrees is in quadrant 3. Cosine is negative in quadrant 3. And then 225 minus 180 is 45. So this is negative cosine of 45 degrees. 45, 45, 90, 1 root 2. So negative 1 over root 2, which is negative root 2 over 2. Oops. Okay. That's 5. There's 6. Ooh, 7 is interesting. Okay, so let's look at rewriting this first. So 1 minus 2 sine of 30, the quantity squared, all over 2, plus the sine of 60 divided by 1 minus cosine of 60. Okay, so I'm going to need a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So 1 minus 2 sine of 30 degrees is 1/2. I'm squaring that, all divided by 2. Sine of 60 degrees is root 3 over 2. Cosine of 60 degrees is 1/2. Okay, so now I have 1 minus 2 times 1/4 over 2 plus root 3 over 2 minus, or divided by 1/2. Because 1 minus 1/2 is 1/2. So I have 1 minus 1/2 in the numerator because I can cross that out and reduce with 2. And then root 3 over 2. And then I'm going to invert and multiply my denominator. So I get 2 over 1. So this is 1/2 divided by 2 over 1 plus root 3. Because my 2's here cancel out. So I have 1/2. I'm going to invert and multiply my denominator. So 1/2 plus root 3. So this is 1/4 plus the square root of 3. And I'm okay with you leaving it like that. I don't need you to write it as one fraction, but in a future class you might have to. 45, 45, 90. 1 root 2. So 225 is in quadrant 3. Tangent is positive in quadrant 3. 225 minus 180 is 45 degrees. So this is, tangent of 45 times the cotangent of 45. So 1 times 1, which is 1. 11. Looks like I'm probably going to need both triangles. And my triangles don't have to be perfect. Like I'm just sketching them out right now. They're not, they don't have to be perfect. They just have to have the right side measurement. So then that way I can, identify it easily. So this is in quadrant 2. Cotangent is negative in quadrant 2. 180 minus, 135 is 45. And then 210 is in quadrant 3. Cosine is negative in quadrant 3. And then 210 minus 180 is 30 degrees. And then 150 is in quadrant 2. Cosecant is 1 over sine, which is positive. And then 180 minus 150 is equal to 30. So this first one, I have negative cotangent of 45, and then plus the cosine, negative cosine of 30 degrees, and then plus cosecant of 30 degrees. So cotangent of 45 degrees is just going to be 1. My cosine of 30, so minus cosine of 30 is root 3 over 2. And then my cosecant of 30 degrees is, just want to make sure I'm doing that right. Okay. And then cosecant of 30 degrees is 2 over 1. So then this is going to be overall 1 minus root 3 over 2. 13. Gonna need a triangle or two. Root 3, 1 or 2. So 240 degrees is in quadrant 3. Cosine is negative. 240 minus 180 is 60. So then we go to 150, which is in quadrant 2. Sine is positive. So then 180 minus 150 is equal to 30. If you're confused about what I'm doing with these, you have to go back to the previous lesson where we talked about reference angles and simplifying these by themselves. Okay? And that's why I'm going a little bit quickly, is because we should be able to remember what we did before. So 360 minus 300 is 60. And then I need another color. Quadrant 4. But in this case, cosine is going to be positive in quadrant 4. So 360 minus 300 is 60. Okay, so now I have negative cosine of 60. And then I have times the sine of 30. And then I have plus this, a negative plus a negative. Sine is 60, and then times a positive cosine is 60. Take a moment to make sure I didn't mess that up. Negative cosine is 60, positive sine of 30, plus a negative sine of 60, and a positive cosine of 60. Okay, so cosine of 60 is 1/2, so this is negative 1/2. The sine of 30 degrees is 1/2. And then I have a minus sine of 60 degrees, which is root 3 over 2. And then the cosine of 60 degrees is 1/2. So I get negative 1/4 minus root 3 over 4. So I get a negative 1 minus root 3 all divided by 4. 15. Oops, just kidding. I got excited. Wrong triangle. Okay, so now I have to turn these negative angles into positive angles. So I'm going to first take 360 degrees and subtract 225. And I get 135. And then I'm going to take 360 and subtract off 60, and I get, 300. Okay, so now I have the sine of 135 degrees divided by 1/2, and then plus the secant of 300 degrees. So 135 is in quadrant 2, sine is positive. So then 180 minus 135 is equal to 45. And then here my 300 is in quadrant 4, but secant is positive. So then 360 minus 300 is equal to 60. So what I have is the sine of 45 degrees divided by 1/2 plus the secant of 60 degrees. So the sine of 45 degrees is 1 over root 2 divided by 1/2. And then my secant of 60 degrees is 2 over 1. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to invert and multiply and then I have plus 2. So I get 2 over root 2 plus 2. I need to rationalize my denominator. So I get 2 root 2 over 2. And then my 2's cancel out, so I get root 2 plus 2. 17. I think 17 is the last one. Yes, it is. So 17. I'm going to draw my triangles again because I keep scrolling and losing my triangles. Okay, so 210 degrees is in quadrant 3. Cosine is negative. So then 210 minus 180 is equal to 30. And then 120 is in quadrant 2. Cosine is negative. So then 180 minus 120 is equal to 60. And then the last one, 315, is in quadrant 4. Tangent is negative. So 360 minus 315 is equal to 45. So now I have the negative cosine of 30 degrees divided by the negative cosine of 60 degrees, and then minus a minus. It's all messy. Negative tangent of 45 degrees. Okay, so now cosine of 60 is negative a half, so this is negative a half here. Oh, I lied. Cosine of 30 degrees is, will be root 3 over 2. So this is, oops, wrong color. Poop. Negative root 3 over 2. Cosine of 60 degrees is 1/2, which is exactly what I said and wrote it in the wrong spot. And then tangent of 45 is 1. So I have a negative root 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. So then now I invert and multiply. And I get a negative root 3. Make sure I didn't make any errors here. 30 degrees, 60 degrees. Yeah. All right. And that's it for all the odd numbered questions.